I suppose being married to the daughter of the gentleman that founded the game, that invented the game, means that this game has a more special meaning perhaps for Howard than anybody else in this hall. I would like to say that I grew up at Fritz Church. My mother and Mrs. Miller were best of friends. I've known Howard since I was about that tall. I've always known him to be an outstanding gentleman, a great attribute to whatever organization he is with, and we're really glad that he and Betty are here tonight. Thank you, Howard. Now I'd like to bring Wayne Shelley out, and he will say a few words regarding Howard.
Howard, 62 years, that's a long time. It's a long time to be in any one organization. And you've been very active over the years and held almost every position in the league. And in an effort to find out just how many positions you had, I went into my archives and I came up with a list. Now I know this list is not complete because to do the job right, I should have had the minutes from all the previous years. The only catch here is that Howard's the historian, and he has all the records. And I just couldn't think of a good enough excuse to ask you for it. But anyway, this is what I came up with. As an officer of the league, you were president for 6 years, starting with the 18th year, which was 1948-49. The 19th year, which was 49-50. The 20th year, 50 and 51. Then in the 50th year, which was 1980-81, the 59th year, that was 89-90, and the 60th year, 90-91. You served on the Board of Past Presidents for 5 years, from 82 to 87, and you've been the historian for the past 12 years. Now, you also have a lot to do with the printing and distribution of the charts. And you've been doing this for both leagues, for both the city and the suburban leagues, and you've been doing this for many, many years. Now, your name first appeared in my records back in March of 1941. You were appointed an umpire at the championship match between Olivet and Emmanuel. Now, Emmanuel was in the league at that time. So you must have did a pretty good job because you were appointed again in March of 1942. And this time the championship, as it states in the minutes, between the Moravians and the Presbyterians. Then in 1942 you served on the nominating committee. Again in 1944 the nominating committee. And in 1946 you were appointed the assistant statistician to Mr. Bell. Then in the 50s, in 1952, you became chairman of the Banquet Committee. Again in 53 and in 56. In 1953, you became chairman of the Arbitration Board. And that was to settle all kinds of disputes, I assume. In 1954, chairman of the Special Committee on New Teams. And that was the year in which the Suburban League was formed. Then in the 60s, 1961, you served on the Booklet Committee, which is now our yearbook. Then in 1964, and this is a good one, the Special Events Committee, which was really the Trophy Committee, was it not? I could never understand why the forefathers named this committee Special Events. Maybe it's because after they signed up another undertaker to sponsor a trophy, it was a special event. Then in 1960s, here's a good one, the Steering Committee. After I read through that, it was the Rules Committee, I understand. You were on that from 67 through 70, and in 1968, you were the co-captain of the All-Star team along with Paul Beck. Now, my records don't show anything for 9th through the 70s, I think you were probably resting up for what was to come in the 80s. Because in 1980-81, you served as the co-chairman of the 50th Anniversary Committee, and I had the privilege of serving with you on that. We had a great time doing that. In 1983, on the Bylaws Committee. Also in 1983, you were chairman of the Banquet Committee. In 84 and 85 also. And then in 86, through the present time, you have been the co-chairman of the Banquet Committee, along with Frank Thatcher. Now, all these years, while you were doing all of this, you were also the team captain for Fritz Memorial. And my records go back to 1950, and I believe there were just a couple years in there that probably one of the other fellows was serving. So you had a busy time throughout that. So Howard, personally speaking, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to serve with you for so many years. It's always nice to look back and say that I served with a good friend, a good Methodist friend.
And now I'll have Doug Miller come up and say a few words.
Well, my list isn't quite as long, but I didn't know what I was going to say tonight. But I'd like to thank my cast crew. Whoops, wrong card. My dad got me started in darts when I was about 12 years old, and I got to throw once or twice. And then a little later on, they let me throw a little more than that, and so it progressed. The neat thing about it was that this is an activity that father and son could take part in, and also we were fortunate enough to have 3 generations a couple of times. Woody Green was involved in that too. So it was really a neat experience to have a competitive sport where 3 generations could take part in, and also father and son. I know a lot of you other teams have the same situation. Later on, when I was in the service in Vietnam, I used to look forward to getting letters from home like everybody else in the service. And my mom would start the letters off with family matters, and then my dad would take over and give me a play-by-play, inning by inning, of all the dart matches. I really look forward to that. The thing I couldn't figure out, though, was how many hits he kept getting every week and the game-winning RBIs. And then when I figured out his average, it was about 785 that year. No, he has had and has shown a lot of dedication, and I used to think he was just a worried person, but I finally figured it out that this is the way he dedicated himself. He always was concerned about having enough players each week, and so on. And I'd just like to thank him for all the good friends that I was able to make and friendships over the years, and I owe it all to him. And my mom especially gets some thanks because she put up with us going to darts and manipulating all our family matters around the different activities. So I want to thank them both.
And now, Walt Popper, President of the Suburban League, would also like to say a few words.
Well, I want to say on behalf of the Suburban League, which sort of owes its existence to Howard and James Bell because they started it. We started in '54. I want to congratulate you for all the, I think for 62 years, to do anything for 62 years is really amazing. to throw darts for 62 years and put up with that frustration for that long must really be amazing. But the thing I wanted to say too, and this is true, Howard will vouch for this. I actually am related in a way to James Bell, who started the baseball league. And the way this works is, my wife Pat's mother, Betty, is Howard's sister, or it's Howard's sister, correct? So that makes you my wife's uncle, which makes you my uncle-in-law. This gets better. So that's right, that's true, right? So now, James Bell is your wife Betty's father. So that makes James Bell your father-in-law. So James Bell is my uncle-in-law father-in-law. This is true. I looked this up. I looked this up in one of those genealogy books. And when you have like two in-laws in a row like that, they sort of cancel each other out. So I discovered that actually James Bell was my grandfather. Now this is bad enough, but what really concerns me is if that's the case, I might have married my sister. So anyway, somehow in there I am related to James Bell of Fountain League, which I, in a sort of way, am very proud of because it's provided many, many years of happiness and enjoyment for not only my family, but for all the 120, 150 members of our league, the Suburban Dart League. So on behalf of our whole league, Betty and Howard, I want to congratulate you and wish you many, many more years of dart playing.
She wanted to leave. I didn't know being related to you was that embarrassing. Now we'd like to have Joe LaDuca, who will be the incoming president for next year, come out and make a presentation.
First of all, I want to congratulate Howard for 62 years. It's hard to imagine. I'm 62 years old. It seems impossible to play that long now. But we do enjoy this league. I enjoy it especially. I've been in a long time. Played with Bryce Luther at one time, then we started our own team, Sacred Heart. And we have to thank Mrs. Bell, because her dad started this league here, and it's wonderful. We enjoy it. Now, what I have here is a flag without a picture. What happened is we ordered a picture that was in the morning call that extolled all his virtues, of all his good that he did and all the deeds that he did through the years. And what happened is we didn't get the picture yet. So I'm just going to present the frame. When I go to his church, he really welcomes you and makes you feel welcome. And a very religious person. I noticed that he prays all the time. One of the few churches still pray before they start playing. And I appreciate all that. And Betty, we appreciate you putting up with him all these years. Thank you.
Howard, if you would. We have a little something for you. It's inscribed to Howard Miller from the Bethlehem Interchurch Dart Baseball League in grateful appreciation for your years of devotion and service to the league. May 14th, 1993. Howard, thank you.
Believe it or not, I knew nothing about this. If I would have, I'd have stayed home. I don't know how many of you read the article in the Morning Call, but in that, Craig wrote that my wife told him that darts comes first. If it was her birthday or a wedding anniversary or whatever it was, and it was a dart night, it was darts. I appreciate all the remarks that were made, and I enjoyed all of these years, and thank all of you very much.
Now we have one final presentation. Howard's played darts for 62 years, which means for 62 years, this gracious lady has had to put up with him, rearrange her schedule, and sit home alone many, many evenings. So what we did was we got her a stained glass rose.
call your name, please come up to the stage. You can enter on either side of the stage. College Hill, Moravian, Captain Tom Hartzell, you come forward, please. Bethany, UCC, Captain Paul Beck. Shanersville, Captain Sterling Gogol. First UCC, Captain Leroy Miller. Christ Lutheran, Bill Jacoby. Holy Trinity Lutheran, Bill Rednick.
Once. Okay, we have Warren Bushlitz, Dale Kemmer, Wayne Confer, Lloyd Ruth, Charlie Diley, Leroy Fenner, Don Conover. Also here tonight is Herb Cromer. Not be able to be here tonight are John Augustine, Don Greenewald, Brian Alt, Jack Alt, Dave Diley, Herb Diley, and Charlie Roman. Thanks.
All the champions come to receive the trophy.
You turned it off.
Here, after the Olympics.
The mic's off. You turned it off.
Tonight, for our entertainment, we are pleased to present the first UCC of Hellertown Brass Choir. This choir began playing for church services about 6 years ago, and during the past several years has been playing for other church functions, as well as weddings and other local events, including the Lions Club Craft Fair, Music Fest, Saucon Fest, and Mayfair. The members are Kevin O'Connell, David Heintzelman, Janet Hardy, Clark Hammond, Daniel Deischer, LaRon Deischer, and Peter McCauley. And while they set up, we'll take a break, and when they're ready, they will begin their presentation.
Thank you very much.
A lot better than the group they had here last night. We are the first UCC Brass Choir from Hellertown, if you've ever seen us. Some of our friends out in the audience. Do we have friends out in the audience? Here we are. Hello, folks. The doors have been locked. You cannot get out, so you can stay. That was the theme from Masterpiece Theater. It's officially known as the Rondo by Jean Joseph Moret from France. And now we have from the opera The Red Poppy. You all remember that one in Russia, about the turn of the century. This is Reinhold Glier's Russian Sailor's Dance.
Please take the